Snaking its way through the countryside of Southern Virginia, this beautiful 3.2-mile strip of asphalt has been around since 1957. But now, for the second time in 3 years, the Virginia International Raceway is home to the SCCA National Championship Runoffs.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Virginia International Raceway as our coverage of the 59th running of the SCCA's National Championship Runoffs continues at this glorious venue. Our coverage and broadcast presented today by Mazda. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Tom O'Gorman, and Hayward Wagner is going to be prowling all the action down in the pit lane, and looking forward to this one. This is the Run to the Gold in Touring 2, a class that first came up online in 1998. It kind of evolved out of showroom stock GT, and it has proven to be a very fun class. And for many people, at least lately, Kurt Rezzetano has kind of been the guy in that category. And let's take a look at the track map here. It's interesting conditions here, Tomo. We'll get to that in a moment. But first of all, the track itself.
It is. It's a 3.2 miles or so, and it's a lot of different challenges, which is cool because we have a variety of cars here in T2. Heavy braking zone down into turn 1, which has a lot more terrain to it than you'd think. Then a sweep through NASCAR at turn 3 into the lower S's at turns 4, 5, and 6. A pretty good run. A lot of speed added to these cars up through the uphill S's, those iconic twists up the hill at 7, 8, 9 before South Bend at turn 10. Now, we just had a rainstorm come through that has made this track wet from approximately 8 to 10 on that screen. Draw a line all the way through to that back straightaway up to the exit of Oak Tree. So that's all wet right now. We'll get to that. But then the exit of turn 12 at Oak Tree Corner, super important down this long back straightaway before we get to the roller coaster and hog pen, falling 130 feet from turn 14 to turn 17, where it is, again, dry. Basically, consider all of Sector 2 is wet right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. You talk about it. When you come out of 5, you start that 140-foot climb, but it's gradual. It falls away in one swoop when you come over that drop. So for that drop, as we are looking at the track and the track conditions here.
Yeah, perfectly dry down here in the lower S's. This is turn 3 that we're looking over up towards turns 4 and 5. But you did see that the sheen on the track, it is definitely wet up at the Oak Tree Corner.
All right, let's get it down to the third member of our team, Hayward Wagner, man. What's it like out there right now?
It's a little nutty out here, to be honest with you. As you just mentioned, rain on one part of the course, dry on another part of the course. Everybody coming off of the grid here on dry tires after just watching a race where the car that won came into pit lane to change for wet. So I think indecision is the key to flexibility, and everybody in T2 seems to have made up their mind that this is going to be a dry race. I will say, if it gets wet or wetter, as it were, the Fall Line Performance team, if you look back to last year's runoffs in Indianapolis, have experience with a tire change during the race to win a race. So these guys are going to get a pace lap, get a good look at it. I would not be surprised to see a car or two come in on the very first race lap and go to wets.
Well, you know what? That's a great point, Hayward, about Fall Line. I mean, they've done a lot of racing in endurance racing at the pro level, and so they understand how to do tire changes. They get that big picture. It's a bit of a roll of the dice right now because, I mean, it was wet up at that part of the track, but the rest of it bone dry. And if this track dries and you've got wets on, you're in trouble.
It really, yeah, it's a hard choice. I'm not sure what I'd decide because by percentage, about 75 to 80% of this track is dry. So that's a dry race, right? But if you look at key corners, one of the most important corners is South Bend into Oak Tree. Those are the two that are wet, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough. Let's go through the starting lineup. Starting 14th, the number 47 of Mikhail Butenko out of San Francisco, California, driving the Ford Mustang. Starting 13th, the 149 of Gregory Shermer out of Davenport, Iowa, in the Porsche. Starting in the 12th spot, the 110 of Gami Aguilar Gamez out of Renton, Washington, the Racer on Rails BMW. Starting in the 11th spot, number 6, Nathan Martin out of Westminster, Colorado, in the Fall Line Motorsports BMW, and that is the M2 CS Cup car. Talk more about that in a minute. Starting 10th, the number 18 is Aaron Kaplan out of Evanston, Illinois, Chicago region, in the Kaplan Racing Systems BMW E92 M3. Starting in the 9th spot is number 9, Charlie Abel out of Middleton, Maryland. He drives the Hoosier Hawk Summit Racing Chevy Corvette. Starting in the 8th spot, the number 34, Marty Grand out of Centreville, Virginia, and that's the Hoosier Carbotech Honda Civic Type R. Interesting story there. Starting 7th, the 0 of Scotty White. Scotty B. White out of Auburn, Washington, the Night Transport Dodge Viper. Starting in the 6th spot, the number 73, Dave Sanders out of Malvern, Pennsylvania, the Phoenix Performance Corvette. Starting in the 5th spot, the number 22, Alan Kossoff out of Prospect Heights, Illinois, running out of Chicago region, the Solano USA Porsche. Starting in the 4th spot, number 46, Mark Boden, one of the experienced drivers in this category, out of Buffalo Grove, Illinois, 4-time gold medalist at the runoffs in the Fall Line Motorsports Porsche Carrera. Starting in the 3rd spot, Tim Kezman, and he is out of Franksville, Wisconsin, driving out of Milwaukee region in his Lemons of Love Porsche 996, and he has a gold, and he did that last year in the at Indianapolis. So then we're also talking about Charlie Peter. He will be starting in the outside of the front row, the 66 out of Olathe, Kansas, in the Phoenix label BMW M2 CS Cup car, and then on the pole for the sixth time in his runoffs career, the 37 of Kurt Rezzetano out of Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, in the Phoenix Performance Ford Mustang GT. So going to be really interesting to see how all of this plays out here, and looking forward to this one. One of the interesting stories is when Charlie Peters had his great run last year, he did it in a 235 IR. This year he switches over to the M2 CS Cup car and has qualified pretty well. And they are coming down the hill. The Mazda, the official pace vehicle of the runoffs, into the pits. And Rezzetano and Charlie Peter leading him up to the line. It's Mustang versus BMW on that front row. Wait for it, wait for it. We're green and racing here in the run for the gold in Touring 2. And let's see what Rezzetano's able to do. Right down the middle of the track, nice and deep. Charlie Peter trying to cut down underneath. He makes that work. Tim Kezman slots into 3rd.
Yeah, and look at David Sanders around the outside in the yellow C5 Corvette trying to make a move on Kezman. Not going to make it work as Boden moves in front of teammate Kezman to get into that 3rd position. Now still side by side for Scotty B. White and Alan Kossoff. Kossoff shuts the door.
Yeah, aggressively as well, right in front of them, the yellow Corvette, the Phoenix entry of the 73 of David Sanders. Is everybody working through this section, the very, very serpentine technical part, now into the section they call Snake, as they wind out of 5.5A and start feeding it throttle. You still got to watch it, dance a little bit, and now up into the climbing S's for the first time.
Kind of an even breakaway towards the wet track. We need to know how much grip do these cars have. This is a complete mystery. We're now in the damp and coming up to the full wet. You see the spray off of the front of Mark Boden's car. David Sanders, a great look as he dabs the brake and flicks it into mystery, I would say, up towards Oak Tree.
Yeah, and this is where it's getting really, really damp. You can see it here. This is where they're going to have to be super careful on these slick tires, on these race tires, just gently working their way through 11 and 12, and a big couple of, everybody gets on the throttle and the back ends are gone.
As the camera panned up, we were looking straight through the passenger window of Kurt Rezzetano's car, I swear, but he gathers it up, and actually it's not too bad of an exit down the back straight. Charlie Peter closing up just a little bit as the final couple cars get through the wetness.
Look at this, 3 abreast down back in about 7th, 8th, 9th. That's Scotty B. White trying to come down the inside of Marty Grand here, and they are still side by side. And those of you who have followed the runoffs for a while, are used to seeing Marty Grand in a Subaru WRX, and interesting to see him in this car. But this is an interesting story, the car he's in.
It is, and that's the definition of balance of performance.
Yes.
And you see I have a Civic Type R drag racing a Viper and winning it somehow. Scotty B. White a little bit off. I think there's some dampness on the track, steeping, and he has gathered it up. That was a bit odd. He's got something happening. Yeah, maybe some oiling down on his left front tire.
Yeah, he's got a big problem there. Hope he recognizes it soon, because the last thing we need is to get this track oiled down. I don't know he's even aware of it. Yeah, he must now. He's so down on power, people are just streaming by.
And he really actually made a great call there by not diving for pit lane, because he had half the field behind him. So now he's in an awkward spot, needs to get off to a safe position, but heads up driving, and clearly something wrong with the left front, or potentially losing fluids out onto that left front for Scotty B. White. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it really is. It's a long haul for Scotty B. This is, I mean, you think about it, he has been doing this for a long time. This is his 37th start at the runoffs, and Scotty hauls all the way from the the state of Washington. So too bad to see that. Up front, that lead group of three, Rezzetano, Peter, and Boden. A little bit of a margin over Tim Kezman, who, as I said, won the gold last year at Indy, but it was in the GT2 category, and he has David Sanders right behind him, and Sanders was fourth at Indianapolis last year in this class in 2021. So you know he'd like to move up a couple of spots.
And Kezman won that race in the wet, so he's got a lot of experience with that in theory. As we come now, he did have the rain tires. It was a full wet race. Now he's dealing with those slicks in the wet conditions, getting a lot of pressure from David Sanders, but you see how that Porsche just springs off the corner with the rear engine. It looks like Mark Boden is also getting some benefit from that as he's right on the back and pulls out for Charlie Peter.
All right, this is the move, going for that second spot. Boden alongside, might even be nosing past him here. Let's see how deep does Charlie go on that BMW into the braking zone. Pretty darn deep. Gets it done. Now, does he get it woed down? 15 and 16? He does. He's in good shape now, leading away. But Boden, you're absolutely right. Those Porsches, when it's wet, they plant the power so well with that big lump sitting right over those drive wheels. They get good grip, but you got to get them squared up before you go to throttle, don't you?
And that hog pen corner still seeping a little bit of water, and it's catching some of these drivers off guard. You saw that huge wiggle from Mark Boden, but that's about 17 years in braking technology that we just saw there, and that BMW just able to slam it down into the roller coaster and take the position back.
Well, and that problem down in hog pen in 17, it's difficult to have the discipline to run a wide line down there at the start of that turn because it comes back at you, and so your instinct is, I got to turn in here, and boom, you hit that on that spot where that moisture's down there, and but then they're dealing with moisture all the way through, as you said, up through the exit of South Bend, through the exit of the Oak Tree turn here, but things settling just a little bit. That battle behind, though, Kezman, he has Sanders absolutely glued to the back of his Porsche right there. Those two are really duking it out, and it's letting Alan Kossoff come back at him.
Yeah, this is looking like a great battle for fourth. And last year at Indy, David Sanders had a similar situation. He was in hot pursuit of Charlie Peter back in Charlie's old car. So now he's kind of found himself in a similar position, just staring at the back of somebody trying to figure out a way around. Looks like the extra downforce of those Porsches helps it in these high-speed corners as Sanders has had to back off just a bit.
Just getting a report that the zero of Scotty B. White has made his way around and into the pits. Hate to see that. He runs a lot of classes, so hopefully he'll get another shot to get out and do some racing here. But this is where, watch it right here. Kezman squares up, waits, goes to the throttle, and Kossoff also an opportunity here to get a really good launch to try and go after Sanders. But that Corvette does have some speed in a straight line once it gets up to it.
Yeah, a little bit less aero is going to help with that drag. You see it kind of coming into effect. Another lunge for Boden.
Let's see if he can do it, but I'll tell you what, Peter he knows that BMW's got some great brakes and doesn't try and defend too much. It's the old story. For him, the best defense right now is a good offense and just out-deep him.
Yeah, he just has to be able to continue to keep that gap every single time on the back straight. He'll know he'll cross the line before. This is the battle for second position, and Charlie Peter driving a basically factory-built BMW car. You can go to BMW and buy that race car as it sits. Paddle shift, a lot of cool tech in that car versus Boden. It looks like a nice Porsche, and it very much is, but it's a 2004 996 Porsche, so it's a much older car than you may realize, and it has a little bit different of technology. Look at this.
Here comes Kossoff taking the run down to the inside of Sanders, and he's got him, and he's got him comfortably. And now Kossoff, as a result, moves up into the top 5. Sanders not going quietly, though, trying to come back underneath Kossoff, but Kossoff covers it up. This is that really, really tricky spot. It's going to be interesting now to see if Kossoff has the pace to go after Kezman. And we know Kezman's a pretty rapid driver.
Yeah, they're going to, especially in these very similar cars, theoretically the same cars, can work. I don't know if they'll be able to work together in cars this pace with drafting and whatnot, but David Sanders is really, really quick in these lower speed corners until the aero of these Porsches kind of kicks in right where we're looking at now in these S's.
Watch them up through here. This is 4th, 5th, and 6th. And they're back a little bit, about 5 seconds adrift to that lead group of 3 at this stage. And you can see they start to pick up that moisture actually before they get to South Bend, don't they?
They do, but I'm seeing little dry patches picking up here and there, and it's not until right here in the braking zone for Oak Tree that we see any spray coming off the back of the cars. So this is definitely going to be drying out. Good call, in my opinion, from everybody for picking those dry tires. It would have been a big gamble for that to pay off, as it looks like
Oh, Boden got a heck of a launch, didn't he, out of Oak Tree? That's what you were alluding to. And he's already by and clear of Charlie Peter. And that's really what he needed to do, because he knows Charlie's going to get into the roller coaster here really, really well on those brakes.
You see the BMW just close right up to the back bumper. Of course, being a slower corner, too, the cars just compress nicely down. And once we're in the dry, the BMW power down looks pretty good. Is just able to hang right onto the back of the Porsche, but now he's got a bigger problem. The Porsche's in his way.
Yeah, exactly. And that Porsche, we know, has some legs here at this stage. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. And, of course, all of this dicing up front, guess who it's helping? A guy named Rezzetano, who last time by had a 3.1 second margin. And they've been scrapping at it again here. Let's see what it is this time by. And as they it's up to 4.9, almost 5 seconds. And Rezzetano just uncorked a beauty. And look at this move around the outside by Charlie Peter. I don't know if you'll be able to make it stick, but he just might.
He's got the long way around, which is going to help him keep the wheel nice and straight. Now he's got the short distance into turn 3. These guys are going to stay side by side. No, Boden just tucks in, perhaps for the over-under, tries to get the power down. Nothing having. He's going to have to do the same thing at Oak Tree again, I think.
I'll tell you what, did you see? I think Charlie Peter played that perfectly, because he shallowed up his exit. He knew right where Boden was going to try and square up and go underneath, and he just tightened his exit up, and Boden went, well, that's done.
Yeah,
that was a great piece of racing.
Perfect to anticipate exactly where the guy wants to go and just put your car there. That is not blocking. That's fair racing.
Oh, that's great strategy. That's playing chess, baby.
Look at how soft the BMW is, just so compliant over those curbs at the higher speed. A little bit more aero on that car as well. Boden washing wide out into what is still actual proper wet track. That's risky.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm seeing spray on those cars now as they come out of 9, the last of those S's. So, and that's where he started to get just a little bit wide. Here you're in tiptoe mode through Oak Tree. And here comes Kezman with Kossoff now glued to that rear wing. They both drop Sanders just a little bit here. Now they plant the power on those Porsches. You can see Sanders dancing, trying to get the power down. Those two Porsches are just saying bye.
Yeah, he just doesn't have the car balanced the way that he wants. He needs the engine in the back.
And up front again, here we go. Boden using the power and the launch of that Porsche, gets around Charlie Peter, and again gets to where he needs to be so Charlie Peter can out-deep him down into turns 14 and 15. Now let's see what happens, because this is where Peter is able to really let that BMW sing.
To see if maybe Boden learned anything last time through. Can he position the car in a different way? Can he make sure that that pass can't be repeated down into turn 1? But man, Charlie Peter got a killer run off of Hogpen, and with the better brakes in that car, he kind of can pick what he wants.
Yeah, now let's see, and your point is the spot on one, is where does Boden put his car to defend? Right down the middle of the track. And again, Charlie Peter, he said, well, it worked last time. I suppose I should try it again. And he's even farther alongside this time.
He is. Looking at
wiggle there, though. Yeah. That may have been enough. Yep, just that little wiggle, and Boden was able to put the nose in front and park it there. But now let's see what happens at the exit of 3 into 4.
We're getting into the stage where closing in on halfway, these cars running a very soft R compound tire. It's going to start to degrade at some point, especially if you're overworking them like Charlie Peter seems to be doing slightly. Boden not quite asking as much of his car at this stage. You can almost see the black marks coming off the back of the BMW as that battle is just raging.
Now, the one thing that is happening is every time you get up to the exit of 9 there, you're cooling those tires off as you run through there and then out to the exit of Oak Tree. That's helping a little bit, certainly. So we go back to this battle, and Kezman, he cannot shake Kossoff. Kossoff is putting in some really, really nice laps. They were running consistently within a tenth of each other.
They are, just kind of swapping blows in each sector, but Kossoff is at the disadvantage. He's got the exact same car, and he has lost the track position to Tim Kezman, so Kezman just has to keep hitting his marks.
He's still got a tiptoe up there on these slicks, And the thing is, we don't have any real wind. We had honking winds yesterday. There's not a lot of wind, which helps dry the track. And right now, that mist is going up off, the spray off the tires, and then right back down onto the track. And it's not drying very quickly. Ooh, big moment and save there by Charlie Abel. Oh, but there, right behind him goes the 149 Gregory Shermer out of Davenport, Iowa, and it just snapped around on him. So hopefully he'll be able to keep going here. But look how good this scrap is down through the roller coaster one more time.
To see if definition of insanity is repeating the same thing, expecting different results, right? You'll see if Charlie Peter switches this thing up or if he's going to continue to be put around the outside. Tricky part with the front straightaway here is it is bent to the right the entire duration of that front straight, so it's really easy for Boden to just kind of camp on the right side of the track. Oh, change over for Charlie Peter.
I was wondering if Charlie was going to maybe make that feint to the inside like that and hope that Boden came over for it. The thing is, Mark Boden has been around and racing at the runoffs for a long time, and he doesn't take bait very well.
No, he knows exactly where he needs to place that car, the strengths of that car as well. He knows as long as he can just kind of be, for lack of a better term, in the way until he gets to Oak Tree and just drive off Oak Tree. At this point, he is comfortable.
Yep, just put the car where you know it's going to be really difficult to pass, and then right about here you start to put the power down, and that Porsche's got some speed. But look at this, here we go. Charlie Peter gets a great run through that first part of the snake, and then but there's just no, he doesn't have you have to be up alongside or you can't do anything with that speed.
And he may be able to do something through here if it were dry, but these wet conditions are taking away a nice high-speed corner where the extra aero on that BMW can't really be utilized. You can see how nervous the car, it's almost easy to forget that this section of track is so wet, but to come up to it once a lap and presents that really unique challenge.
Yeah, and as he came out of South Bend, you can see the front end of that BMW really squirming a little bit. Tried to get a run here, but Boden puts the power down on that Porsche, and away he goes, hanging on to second with Charlie Peter in third. But up front, Kurt Rezzetano up to the tune of 7 seconds here in the run to the gold in Touring 2 at the 59th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. We'll be right back.
Focus, guys. We're in a race to the finish, okay?
Here's where the rubber meets the road.
These initiatives move the needle, like, at all?
Well, let's shift gears a minute.
We're really kind of at the apex here.
We need to put the pedal to the metal. We need to nail those hairpin turns, cross that finish line, and take that checkered flag. Woo!
Hit the track with the world's largest motorsports calendar, track day insurance, and more.
Have a good night.
Haggerty. Let's drive together.
Introducing the first ever Mazda CX-50.
We are back at the runoffs, and this fabulous battle is continuing. The only issue these guys might have is it's for second and third. It's not for the gold, but it is absolutely fierce. And I'll tell you what, that BMW of Peter, as you can see, dry lines starting to form in spots now, and that car is just glued in certain sections here.
He is just dancing it. And those newer BMWs, they kind of drive like that. They really kind of float from the rear end. And as long as you know that you're not going to lose grip, it just moves around a lot, they are good to go. But Charlie Peter getting less patient by far through this section of track here in the wet as they're starting to challenge the conditions a lot more. Look at that big old drift down the back straight.
Well, that's fun, it's pretty, it's cool, and it's slow, because you can see that Boden immediately put a big gap there. But, I mean, he's just trying different things now, anything he possibly can to try and figure a way through, because Kurt Rezzetano is just checking out.
Yeah, I think he knows he's got the faster car so he can take those risks, but this is certainly a name we haven't said enough this race for leading by 9 seconds. Kurt Rezzetano has continued to kind of reign here in T2 and has just put, there's the distance, basically what, I wouldn't call it 9 seconds, I'd call it 130 stories ahead.
Exactly, yeah, that's a great way to put it, 130 stories ahead. And it's Kurt's fault, you know, because he's just that fast. You get out by yourself and there's great racing going on. But I'll tell you what, he's you know, I mean, as we're watching this battle, Kurt's an amazing story because, you know, his first stuff, he was a truck driver for Phoenix and, you know, worked on the cars a little bit. And they went and Joe Aquilani took the whole crew out for a day at a track and you know, let the crew drive. And Kurt got in the car and was like just ticks off of Andrew. And they went, maybe we better look at this. And they put Kurt in the car for real, and look what he's done. I mean, he's a 3-time gold medalist in this class. I mean, he is really, really stout, and that's why you've got guys like Boden and Peter really checking, checking out, trying to figure out a way to get to him. And let's not forget this battle for fourth. It's remained about as good as that one for second, with Kezman still in front of the silver gray Porsche of Alan Kossoff.
And Kossoff has consistently been the faster car in that dark silver Porsche 996, but he just hasn't been able to find a way around Tim Kezman. So Kezman has had a couple laps where he's pulled out just maybe a couple tenths, but then Kossoff always responds. And the dry line certainly getting deeper up that hill into the uphill S's, but still spray right when they get into turn 9.
I know, it's interesting, isn't it? Because they come through 7, really good grip there, floated up over 8, and then it's into the damp stuff, and it's like, ooh, I hope I didn't push too hard through 8, because it could get ugly here, and there goes, oh, that's a shame. Kossoff really trying to get a run through there, and it just snapped around on him.
As the words push too hard left our lips, that it happens right in front of us. Commentators curse. Sorry about that, Alan, but gets it going in the right direction. It looks like he only maybe lost 2 positions if we zoom out there, but you just see the back end starts to rotate really early in this corner right there, and it goes on forever. There's just not enough grip in those rear tires on this wet track to keep it gripped up.
Did it look to you like maybe he was trying to open it up a little bit more to square that runoff, and he got that the lefts just off of that dry line?
He may have, but there was also, every driver has been challenging the entry speed of that corner more and more and more, because they have to. They're racing. So you start to find that line, and the risk reward is sometimes can get you.
It goes the risk thing out exceeds the reward sometimes.
Exactly.
But look at this now, Charlie Peter. Once Boden got out in front, he opened up that little bit of a margin, but Charlie is just sort of nipping away at that right now. And then we go back here to Marty Grand in that Honda Civic Type R, and behind him is Gami Gamez in the BMW, then Charlie Abel in the Corvette, and Nathan Martin in the the BMW M2 CS Cup cars.
Looks like there's a really big ebb and flow with these 3 cars. We have the Civic Type R front-wheel drive out in the front. Look at it dance. He's got that thing hooked up in the front and loose in the back as Marty Grand goes down into turn 1. But then the 110 of Gama Aguilar Gamez in that BMW is very similar to Charlie Peters, and then that C5 Corvette. And they were all very tight in the roller coaster section, and then it's all spread back out down that front straight.
And that Civic Type R, when you see it dancing like it is, you said it's loose at the back and tight at the front. That makes it pointy, doesn't it? You turn and it pivots.
Exactly. He's got to do all the work with the front tires in that car. So the more the back end points to the exit of the corner faster, the less work the front has to do. And if you know how to drive that, it is a spectacular weapon to wield. But it's a very intimidating thing to learn as well. As we're going to watch Marty kind of sling that thing up through the S's. Look at it. The back end is just pivoting the nose where he needs to point it. He's almost 1 turn ahead of it at all times. It's spectacular.
Yeah. And he's very comfortable with that front-wheel drive, just up on those curbs. He knows it's going to work. Now, is that when we talk about a Civic Type R, is that what they call a TCR car?
No, that is actually not a TCR car. It's a production chassis. It looks like a big off for Nate Marthin, perhaps.
Yeah, it might be.
Or Aaron Kaplan. Lost which one of those drivers it is in one of those BMWs. No, it is Nathan Martin. Kaplan is in a blue car. So back to the Civic. It's actually a production-based car. Straight up, the same engine, the same trans, the same everything you would buy. The key is it's a lot lighter than a lot of the cars in the class here. It is still a little off pace from the front running cars. As you can see, he's running there mid-pack, but doing a great job with it.
And look at this. There's Nathan is just trying to get that car back onto the track and be able to continue here. And it's a lot of steam. That looks more like steam as Charlie Peter just surprised, I think, Mark Boden. Because Boden had been protecting and Charlie had always gone outside, and Boden just waited that little bit, and Charlie Peters said that'll do.
Yeah, he can maybe kind of back that pressure off in turn 1 over the last 3 or 4 laps, let Mark get a little comfortable, and then decided to really go bowling down into turn 1, and he picked up the position.
That's a great way to put it.
I think Mark Boden saw it coming a long way back and still let it happen. That was a kind of 2 to tango sort of position change, as Peter was really deep down in there.
Well, that's the track awareness that, experience brings, for one. And Boden knew, okay, maybe it's my right to turn in on him, but I could be right, but I could be wrecked in the fence right. And so open the wheel up. I've got a car that's really good coming out of right to the edge, and not it. Boy, it went around on him. So close to saving that, Tomo.
Wow.
Look at the speed.
Yeah, he might make it all the way to the back straight or very close to it. Up
He did.
the
You
next
can
side.
see it right there.
Yeah, but we were talking about how it's kind of drying out online, but offline, it's very much still wet, and that's because no one's driving out there. So he just kissed that puddle, brought him out to the grass, and he went for a big ride.
And he can't get it moving now. That front end is so close to the ground, and that grass is so wet with that climb. That look at that, he has got to be just near tears inside that car. Watch it again here.
Again, not a lot of aero on this Porsche. Gets a big wash right here, kisses the puddle, little bit of grass, and now at this point he's just a passenger.
Yeah. And they are booking up through those S's here. And he would have been better off right there to just turn it back down the hill and try and get some momentum going. But you don't know that in the moment.
He's also got the weight in the back of the car slinging him down the hill, just like a pendulum. But right at the front, Kurt Rezzetano is continuing to turn the fastest laps of the race. Whoa.
A couple of cars having it. That's Marty Grand in the 34. Was that the... I thought that said a 10, but they may be 110. Is that?
It is Gama Aguilar Gomez. It looks like maybe the left front suspension broken on that BMW as he was unable to get the car turned, but there must have been something before we cut to that made us miss. As Marty Grand had been in front, it looks like maybe both of them just coming in too hot. Is there something, maybe a new rainstorm has come through as all three cars off?
Ooh.
Big contact between the 9 and that 110.
Yeah, that was a interesting moment there. That's Charlie Abel in the Corvette. So that's why we're full course caution. And I wonder if, pure speculation, but with the car of Boden off in the middle there, if they were had the yellow out and it's on the wet and you're coming up there and then suddenly you lift a little, I don't know.
Well, we can speculate that there may be some track conditions that have caused that issue as well, because I don't think that was due to Boden.
I don't think so
or
either.
Not due to. I don't think it was related to Boden, but perhaps there's something down, even starting as early as the S's right here. But for three drivers to make the same mistake without any track condition change this late in a race is super uncommon. So
yeah, I would agree with you.
I hope to give them the benefit of the doubt that there was some surprise.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, as a flagger, which I do a lot whenever I can, where Boden was sitting, who throws that flag? Yeah, because he was so far to the other side. I mean, seriously, because is that going to be up in Oak Tree? Are they going to be yellow because he's closer to that part of the track?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, it was, that's one of those moments. Look at that junk that's on the track, and of course that a car that goes off picks that up on a splitter and then just hauls it back onto the track. But the interesting thing is Rezzetano was up to over an 11-second lead. And that's going to go away, obviously. And that's going to bring Charlie Peter, Kezman, and Sanders and everybody right back up into the mix. And I keep trying to, I don't know if Boden was able to finally, if he just got it out on his own here. Oh, look at that. Yeah, now we've got a surface flag up there, which would basically that's up at the top of the hump. Oh, look at that.
Wonder if we pan out here, if that streak leads to a car.
Off to the right there? Our right, driver's left?
Yeah, we may be grasping at straws here, but that oil flag was in the right position for it.
Now, that can also be used if you have a sudden bit of rain that shows up, because what that flag really means, a lot of people just, it's the oil flag, but it simply means a change in the previous condition of the surface. It's used for body work, anything.
Could be mud, an animal.
Absolutely, yeah. You just never know. So, but the gist of it is that Kurt Rezzetano had been just clicking off some really, really nice laps. And it's always frustrating. But the thing is Kurt's done this enough. Your biggest concern when you have a yellow late in the race, if you built up a big lead, is did you take too much out of the tires so that when you go back to green, you don't have anything left, and the other guys in the back have been really taking care of them and they can attack. Kurt Rezzetano's pretty savvy. I'm sure he was driving within that.
I think so too, and he may not know this, but we do from watching that the drivers behind weren't taking very good care of their tires. They were racing really hard.
They were all over the place, yeah. And interesting to see here now if Kezman has any. Oh, and they checkered it early. And, well, I get that, because with three cars off, one was able to continue, two of them had contact and are stuck up there. It's going to be a while to get that going. I do see Mark Boden in the back. So he might still be able to record a finish here. But boy, what a development here after, such a big lead. Great racing behind, obviously, but all those cars off. I understand this call completely, and that is going to give Kurt Rezzetano, 1, he would have defended his gold, and 2, it will be his 4th gold in this category. So here we go, fall line. There's Tim Kezman. He's going to end up 3rd. But wow, what an eventful finish here. And I mean, Rezzetano, he earned this. Obviously, he had that big lead and everything going away. But I'll tell you what, for Charlie Peter and Kezman, Sanders, Kossoff, Boden, all those guys were in some absolutely phenomenal scraps as we take a look at the unofficial results. But in the end, the medals go to Kurt Rezzetano, Charlie Peter, and Tim Kezman. And they gave us a great show.
Yeah, worked 12 of 15 laps, so that was a pretty legit race as far as the entire field goes. We had some great stuff in there, so probably definitely a good call for track conditions. Mark Boden able to salvage that 6th position just behind a couple of his teammates there.
And he also would get the award for most distance traveled in and off.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he just went and went and went. Unbelievable. And it was just, he got so close on that outside edge. I'm not even sure that little nick of the grass got him. It was a little puddling right there, and he was up on it and gone.
And we'll still find out whether or not track conditions had anything to do with his incident, but we can pretty much speculate that it definitely had to do with the 9 of Charlie Abel, the 34 of Marty Grand. Yeah. Pretty heartbreaking for those 2 drivers to have that big incident.
Well, let's take a look at some highlights here as Rezzetano from pole got into the lead. And then, as he is wont to do, he just gently checked out, partly because these 2 got into this kind of a battle, Charlie Peter and Mark Boden, and this was just fabulous stuff.
It was so good. Back and forth between the BMW and the Porsche, making speed in such different ways.
And then these guys had that same kind of a battle as Tim Kezman, and here you see the 22 of Kossoff spinning right there, and then here we go, back and forth up at the front, and late pass, and a nice move by Charlie Peter after everything he'd done down there had always been on the outside. And then here's the moment we're talking about. Just touched the edge there, and they're moving, and he went on forever here. There you see Marty Grand going off. Then you see the BMW, and here comes Charlie Abel getting into it as well. And that was it. That was what put an end to this one. And there you see Rezzetano coming through, and as I said, picking up his 4th gold in this category after an absolutely sterling run with Charlie Peter. It would have been so fun to watch in that new BMW, the M2 CS Cup car. Just superb. And then Tim Kezman in that Lemons of Love Porsche from Franksville, Wisconsin, bringing home another medal. He's got a few of them, too. He won gold at Indy last year in GT2 and now adds a bronze here in T2 at VIR.
And really well earned. He had that awesome battle with Alan Kossoff where he had to stay honest and make no mistakes, and he certainly put together a really nice race there in that fall line Porsche.
It's interesting, isn't it? You take a look at this, and obviously, Charlie Peter, you see the Phoenix label. That is not Phoenix Performance. That's a different deal here. But Phoenix and Fall Line, they have been sort of the standard bearers in this class for a while, haven't they? And that battle in many ways continued. But Charlie Peters comes up and takes that beautiful BMW up and splits it.
Well, you talked about the story with Kurt, how he was driving the truck and got to get in the race car, and they must have really good handling trucks there at Phoenix, because I think there's a similar story with Marshall Mast, who has earned many of his own championships at this point, and that luckily they all compete in different touring classes for them all to get their own glory, but it's really cool to see.
Well, the earlier you get in line, the better the paddock space.
It's true.
So that's the training right there. And those trucks probably curb hop.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's why they like the Mustangs so much.
There you go. So, wow, what an interesting race. We had a little bit of everything in that one. Dominance at the very front by Rezzetano. Great battles for 2nd and 4th, and great scraps a little bit deeper in the pack as well. And here he comes, Kurt Rezzetano. And you know what? I'll tell you another thing about Kurt, aside from being awfully talented and a really good mechanic, he's one of the nicest guys you're ever going to meet. Just a class human being. And so anytime he ends up with a medal, whether it's gold, silver, bronze, or anything, you're always just delighted for him. You really are. And there he is. And Hayward is ready Let's get back down to them.
Guys, the first thing Kurt said is, why can't we get an easy one? From where we were sitting, that actually looked pretty easy, but not true inside the car, huh?
Yeah, the track conditions were unbelievable. Right before the race, I'm sitting there thinking, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to get a dry race. Everybody else in our crew has had to deal with water and all kinds of crazy track conditions. And we were sitting there with a brand new set of tires on the car, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to get a nice, dry, easy race. And then they said it poured on half the track. I'm like, well, half the track's dry and half the track's wet. I guess I'm going to survive on the dry tires. So I'm glad it worked out.
You did a little more than survive. This is your 4th national championship. How's it feel to be back in victory lane?
Oh, it feels amazing. A little bit, bittersweet. My wife's not here. She's at home right now with our newborn. She's a month and a couple weeks old. So I just want to say hi to Amy. And yeah, it's amazing. It's really cool. It was a fun drive. I wish we could have got a better, track conditions so we all could have fought each other a little bit. But it is what it is. I'll take it.
Well, congratulations to you. Unfortunately, because of oil, we're not doing victory laps, but we'll get you to victory, get you over to the podium, get you on the top step.
Thank you.
All right, well, there's the answer to your question. That was a streak of oil, and it may have been one of those cars that had the off and then continued. So, and Amy, by the way, congratulations to you two. But Amy is a pretty good wheeler herself. She's done some driving and absolutely solid there as well. So, Rezzetano, again, getting that gold. Let's get back down to Hayward, who has been experientialing down there all weekend long and doing a great job. Hayward?
Well played, sir. Charlie, great race for you. You and Mark had a wonderful battle. Tell me about the off that you saw. Did you see anything with Mark's off?
I just got around him at 1, and we were fighting so hard, and clean, thank God. I noticed where I was faster up through the S's, and I think he just tried to hold with me, and something about the Porsche doesn't do what this BMW does through turn 9, and he lost the rear end, and then I saw him spin off. I'm glad he didn't come back on the track.
You certainly were able to get this BMW to do quite a few things. It looked like you were just incredibly brave under the brakes and won.
Yeah, certainly. It's the heaviest car on the grid, I'm pretty sure, and one of the least powerful. And in order to actually run up front, I have to hustle the thing. I really do. And it's a lot of fun, but it could be scary at times.
Well, quite a hustle for you. Congratulations on the silver. We're going to grab Tim real quick. Hey, Tim. I know the last thing you wanted was a podium because of Mark's misfortune, but a clean drive, a smart drive, how's it feel to be back on the podium?
Great. This event is the pinnacles, right? So when you can get on the podium, it's good. Today, the condition just was wrong for our car. I need dry so I can really send it in and sail it in, and when I have to be skittish and braking and skittish on exit, I just lose all my. It's a momentum car, and if I lose my momentum because of the condition, I'm just out there riding. Although it would have been nice to get a restart. I mean, since I caught up to him and everything was hot, it would have been nice to see what could have happened.
Well, congratulations on the bronze.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, conditions help you out. Sometimes they don't, and that's unfortunate. There's a look at the villas that we've been talking about. You want to spend a nice weekend watching race cars in luxury and comfort, that's your place right there here at VIR, the first and one of the best still motorsports resorts. So that's going to wrap up our coverage here of both this fabulous race, the Run for the Gold in Touring 2, as well as Day 2 of the 59th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs from here at VIR. Our broadcast today presented by Mazda. Huge thanks to Mazda. Big thanks to you, Tomo, and of course to Hayward down in the pits doing a fabulous job, to Larry, to John Phippen, and to the entire Apex production crew and to the SCCA national staff for everything they're doing. Big day of racing coming tomorrow, so make sure you are back with us. And until then, have a great evening.
Why race? Because it's in our blood. A love of driving that pushes us as hard on the road as it does on the track. It's why we reinvented the Roadster and put a piece of it into every car we make. It's why we refine, rethink, and refine again. And it's why we'll always engineer to your heart's BPM, not simply an engine's RPM. Why race? Why?